Action. Welcome to the Rumikay Talks podcast and today's guest, Raja Deka. Welcome, Raja.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
So let's just dive in. It's been a little bit troublesome to get you to interview because of the technical problems. And I'm so excited to finally sit in front of you face to virtual face and start the interview. Have you seen the Olympic opening ceremony?
Oh my God, it was beautiful. I definitely got to see a good chunk of it. And what a way to bring the world together, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like every choice, every designer, every artist, every director made for every production, it was screaming like, let your real self out. So it was beautiful, man. I enjoyed it so much, and seeing so many countries come together, I'm like, why are we not there, you know?
Yeah, I watched the opening ceremony as well, and I started watching it a little later. So, of course, obviously, I enjoyed everything, the performances, the Celine Dion and everything. But then I started watching it again with my wife when she came home, and I started watching from the beginning. And I realized that Steven Spielberg was doing the introduction. It was incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about you. Let's just dive in. From NASA to acting. Let's dig deeper here. Describe a moment in your life when you took your first action towards your creative career.
You know, I've been dancing from childhood, so I've always been curious about acting. But one of my best friends, Josh, his little brother told me years ago, he said, you've always talked about taking an acting class, never had the guts to do anything. There's a small theater next to NASA having open call auditions. You're going Thursday, whether you like it or not. So long story, I went, I was terrified, did a cold read. I got a character in a play called The Gazebo that put me on stage for the last 30 seconds. What really rattled me was on opening night, there was a lady and her brother that came up to me, and she was like, I want you to know you've changed my brother's life. I said, how so? And she said, you were his favorite character in the whole show, and now he's thinking about like making some changes in his own life. And again, I was only there for the final 30 seconds of the show, but rehearsing, like connecting, acquiring a new family, I was like, this is it. Like, and driving home that night, I thought, if you can change how somebody feels, what can you do on the screen? What are you capable of? So it just took off from there, man.
Wow, that's incredible. I never heard the story like that. That's how captivating from the first performance. Yeah, that's definitely a sign for sure.
Yeah.
Was it in California?
No, that was in Texas. I was living in Houston, where I grew up. I was born in New Orleans, grew up in Houston. My family's from Assam, northeastern part of India, but that was in a place called Pasadena, Texas, and Pasadena Little Theater, little cute community theater, and the same director was doing a Grease the musical production, and he said, Raj, I want you to read for Sonny, and I was like, Grease, that's crazy. So we had a little read, and we just had a moment, and we all connected with the readers. And everybody was like in stitches, like it hit. And he said, you're playing Sonny. And so I'm in Grease the Musical, this beautiful production. And I can say it's still top 3 most fulfilling projects I've ever worked on. But yeah, my father, so much of my family, my friends were local, so they got to come see it. And I got to sing, I got to dance, I got to really carry out, a significant character where every day coming home from rehearsal, coming from the show, I felt inside my core like I'm giving so much to the story for everyone. And it was, as far as fulfillment, it was everything, man.
Yeah. And how's that energy, how's that experience that you got during that time drove you all the way to Los Angeles?
Yeah, there's quite a bit of highs and lows, man, but that's everyone's journey, right? I did Grease. Every day was a dream. I was able to do this at such a magnitude. I remember in a rehearsal, the director, it was a couple days before we had the opening night, and I made some mistakes, and he really called me out in front of everyone. And this was my first real project next to the prior play. But he called me out. He was like, "You're doing this, you're doing that. It's embarrassing." And I remember sitting in the theater and feeling tears go down my eyes. I felt emotionally destroyed, like, wow, like I'm screwing this up so much. So he gave me some notes, and I went home. I was living alone. My mom had just passed away. My dad was out of state working a contract job. I just thought about it. I thought academics, like in school, like math, science, English, if I messed up, that's fine. Like you can say what you will, but when it comes to art, I will fight to the death to make sure I get it right. So the next day, I made a subtle change, and when he saw what we did together, he called me Sonny. He goes, Sonny, you found your character, and I commend you for the direction you always take. And it was clear I took Sonny to a place he's never gone before in that story, because I chose to take that criticism, and even though it could have destroyed my core and every ounce of confidence, I said no. Like, I'm gonna do something with this. I'm either gonna fly or I'm gonna fall even more, but I'm gonna go big. And it was life changing. And so from that point, I'm taking acting classes in Houston. I'm doing independent films, loving it. So I'm applying for jobs in LA, trying to get a job, thinking, hey, I work for a NASA contractor, United Space Lines. I work for flight operations. I'm going to get an interview, right? Not a single interview. Again, a couple of years prior, my mom had passed. It was really, really sudden. I mean, that was 21 years ago, and I'm still like, wow, I'm still alive. I'm still surviving without her physically. So I'm in survival mode, trying to get to LA. There's no chance in my mind. But then there's a DC recruitment firm that reaches out, and they're like, hey, we saw your resume online. Would you be interested in a position in the intelligence community? And I thought it was a joke because growing up, I never found my way in school. I never was an A student like my cousins. Like a lot of the Indian community, it's all about education, being the top 1%. My parents were like, just be who you are and do the best you can. And when I was 5 years old, they said, there's only one of you. And that never left me. So no matter what the report card said growing up, I'm like, I'm good. I'm destined for something special. That's for me. So I attracted the space program, and then I get this email about an intelligence position. So I thought, oh, it's clearly spam. So I deleted it. I'm going to rehearsal for Greece, and I was part of a dance company. I'm going to work, and then I come home thinking, I used to tell mom how much I wanted to travel and work. What if this is something from her? So I revisited. They gave me all these exams online. They started interviewing some of my best friends in Seattle and Oklahoma who knew me very well. And then a week later, they come to Houston for a final interview, and and then they give some more information and whatnot. And then a week later, I get an offer to work for the CIA and travel the world. So I called my dad and I said, Dad, I don't know what just happened because I didn't apply for this. I wasn't looking for this. He doesn't even miss a beat. He's like, look, you want to act and you will, but this is a chance to see the world. You decide the choice you're going to make, and I'll support you either way. So I'm thinking, cool, let me go for a year, see the world, see what they're about, serve my country. And then I take that savings and I go to LA, right? Anyways, that 1 year turns into 3 years. In that time, my father met the director of the agency. When I first got hired on, there were 15 people in this room, and there was a chief. His name was Darren. He said 168,000 people applied for this job. 1,200 were reviewed, and 100 were chosen. You're here for a reason. And I'm thinking, I didn't even apply for this. What are those odds? So anyways, in the 3 years, Dad met the director. The director commended my dad for my work, which is a real honor. And when I was living in Japan, Dad came to visit me. Dad calls me at the end of that year, and he's like, look, you're putting a lot of energy into your acting still. When you're in the States, you're on a bus to New York, you're filming, you're auditioning. He was like, look, you have the heart, you have the will, you have my blood. You're going to do good in LA. And he was like, I want to see you more. I promised mom I would take care of you. So anyways, he said, you're going to resign from this job, and I'm transferring my position to LA. I've already put it in. So we're doing this together because I know what's waiting for you. So, when a parent's like, hey, we're doing this together, you're like, you're just, you're surprised, but you're not, because it's like, wow, this is happening. And I'm going with my dad. I'm starting a new chapter with my dad when there is a moment where I didn't talk to him for 2 years after my mom passed. So my hero's like, let's go. We know what's waiting for you. So I go to Boston to celebrate with my cousins. I get a missed call from him. And I call him back later that night, check the voicemail. It's his boss. He's collapsed at work, sudden heart attack, and it's really, really bad. 5 days in a coma. But the second we got the news, my family flew up there. 5 days later, after being in a coma, he passed. So basically, in 3 months, my father passes. I resign from the agency. I go to Africa to clear my head. And then I get in my car in DC and I drive across the country with no future financial plan. But I did have two mortgages and I had my father's blessing. So in my mind, no matter how significant the unknown was, I felt like Superman. I was like, I know where I'm supposed to be. So I went and I've been doing this full time for the last 14 years. But there's been lots of up and downs since, man. I mean, my first year in LA, I got a Paramount Studio film, G.I. Joe, which was so surreal because I loved G.I. Joe as a kid more than anything. I still have some of my G.I. Joes, man. So when I heard that I got a role on the G.I. Joe film with like Jonathan Pryce, Bruce Willis, The Rock, and it's a character with dialogue. It was my first studio film. And so I got that the next year. I got two really big shows. And then things were really up and down so much that in 2016, I went to see a psychologist. I was like, excuse my French, but I'm fucking depressed. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm away from my family, my friends. I'm missing out on some of my nephews and nieces growing up. Should I even be here? Am I doing enough as an actor? And she gave me this beautiful analogy in 45 minutes of my life, between a child star and the life I've lived. And I was like, "Can I give you a hug?" And she was like, "I don't really do that, but sure." So I gave this hug, and they're these psychologists are very expensive. I took off and I forgot to pay. So I'm calling her immediately, and I'm like, "Hey, I forgot to pay. I'm so sorry." And then she sends me a message. She goes, "Honey, that's on me." She goes, "If you ever want to come back, let me know." But it's been a roller coaster, man. There's been lots of ups and downs, but my parents were the kinds of people that live to the fullest. Like if you were a homeless person who didn't have a plate, or if you were family and something was a little off, that would change right away, and there would be a smile on your face. And everybody was welcome home. Everybody, didn't matter who you are, or what walk of life you came from. You walk into our front door, you are immediately going to be loved to no end. And so the way they had lived and lifted people, I've kind of subconsciously and consciously, contributed and given a little bit of that into my day to day, into who I am, into my work. And they always, not always, but my mom was always looking at the positive side, and so that
Hmm.
that helps me a lot. And my dad had the drive, like the determination of eye of the tiger, man. Like, don't you let anybody tell you no. Like, you're the only one who's going to determine your destiny. And he was living proof. I mean, he grew up in a village, outside of Guwahati in Assam, India, in a really rural area. Fast forward just through this undying belief, like he got an opportunity to come and study and work here and provide for me and my mom. But yeah, so long story, I guess long. That's how I went from these careers I had, to becoming an actor that I am.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your family, about your roots in Assam, India. Is there any traditions that come to mind that you experienced as a child, or something that you did as a family that comes originally from Assam, India? Any dances, perhaps?
Oh my God, absolutely, man. We had a New Year. It was called Bihu. It happened every Easter, and that was like Christmas for us. It was a huge event. Like since childhood, we would get together. We would have like it was an all weekend event. During the day was like, like picnic, barbecue, games with the kids, with the adults. And at night was a function where you got to sing, dance, and perform. So it was our New Year's celebration. Bihu is like celebrating the harvest, the crops, having food, having each other, having our community. So that was every April. And then we had our Assam convention. It was an international convention that happened every July 4th, where all the Assamese people from North America came. and just celebrated our culture also for a whole weekend. But there was obviously a lot more people, and there were some of my parents' childhood friends and their kids. We would meet up together at those conventions growing up every July 4th and just light up the town and then perform at night. And we still have them every year. This past year was in Nashville. Next year it's going to be in Chicago. You're welcome to join us if you're around, man, for real. We'd love
Sure,
to
if you're
bring,
invited.
friends and family, to come and enjoy and to learn about our culture a little bit. And even though I was born in the States, like when I go to Assam, like there's a there's a different kind of you feel like you have history there that you're not aware of. It's a deep rooted feeling beyond just having family there. So yeah, to answer your question, we had our bihu during Easter time, and we had our conventions every July 4th that we still have ongoing. And the bihus I miss a lot because when I left Houston, I never got connected with the communities in DC, other parts of the world, in LA, just because we get so caught up with life and work.
Hmm.
But the community in Houston, we had 12 families we grew up with, and those kids and I are still inseparable. You put us in a restaurant or a bar, we're going to get kicked out because we turn into 5-year-olds again, and it's amazing. Um, but yeah, they're just like my siblings. But yeah, we have definitely those two that I'm grateful for, man. It made our childhood that much more rich.
So let's talk a little bit about your acting side of you, about your training. So,
Mhm.
what classes that you've taken so far would you put on the top three, or not classes, maybe like specific lessons that you learned that you're now using for your acting?
So very honestly, the three I can think of, the first one, and I've realized now is truly living. You know, the more I travel, the more I see the world, the more I meet locals and other cultures. It does something to your soul, and then you acquire more and more information, and when scripts and characters come, you end up using it, and you don't realize it. So, living life like honestly is one. Stella Adler, I went to when I left my Houston job before my DC job. I came to Hollywood for a summer, and I'm like, I don't know anybody here, but I'm going to go to Stella Adler, take some courses, and do some auditions. And I got some really really cool commercials, and the training I got was solid. I mean, like to hear some of the philosophy from Stella Adler herself, and like man, some of the teachers, I still remember some of the work they gave me, and some of the pieces we got to live. I got to do Harold Pinter's Betrayal in a scene study years later in that theater. I got to do pieces from Neil Simon's Barefoot in the Park, which is a masterpiece. But these these plays are life changing. You know, once you get in there, you learn some of the basics, and then you start to dive in with other actors and these teachers and these directors. You realize you can do anything. Like no matter how overwhelming or out of reach it is, it's actually not. So living life, Stella Adler. Wow, I've done quite a bit of training, like like Second City for improv and Stan Kirsch auditioning technique. I was at the Beverly Hills Playhouse Masterclass at one point. There's so many of them, but the things I use today, ah, yeah, I'd say life, Stella Adler, and maybe some private coaching I've gotten along the way. Like if a
Hmm.
series regular audition comes, you find one of the best coaches, and then you have an experience with them that you don't see coming, and that just jolts you and changes you forever. So I'd say if I had to pick three out of all these amazing experiences, probably those three.
When you get cast for a series regular or a big role, you'd say you would always gonna hire a coach to prepare yourself for the role.
You know what? Not necessarily. Television is very technical.
Hmm.
To respect the writers and whatnot, you have to be really like every apostrophe, every comma, every word has to be on point, which is fine. But TV moves at such a fast pace where what I love about acting is creating layers and layers and depth of the characters in the story. And I want to go deep. TV doesn't want any of that. They want you to spit out the dialogue, moving on to the next scene, to the next episode, and spit out the next 5 seasons.
Hmm.
Now, when you have these actors on TV who bring that depth and whatnot, and they do it because the writing is so good, then bam, you're flying. But I used to feel like it's so technical. I need a coach for television So I used to go see a private coach, but I don't think for every major role or major series regular or a leading role in a film, I think it depends how it resonates with me. If I feel like I can really feel this character's journey and their life and why they're there, I go in there and bring my best self in and put my best self into it, and I feel pretty good about it. But if it's something where I'm kind of like, this is going to require a lot of expertise I don't have, especially from a director's eye, I'll hire the coach for sure. So I think it really depends on how a script resonates with me.
So how do you go from,
Yeah.
oh, I want to be on a TV show to being cast in a show like Arrested Development, Blackish, or Homeland?
hmm So, I'll tell you real quick. Homeland, I got because of someone I met in Virginia, of all places.
Mm.
This is a true testament of being who you are. Like, I went to a networking event. I wanted to meet the three top agents. Now, I was working for the agency, and I wasn't supposed to be doing this. But when I was off, I would sneak into these little networking events and meet some actors or whatever. There were three top agents in the DC area I wanted to meet. One was Sylvia Hudson. There was probably 1,000 actors in that warehouse. I shook her hand for 10 seconds. So nice to meet you. Thank you so much. I left I left the warehouse thinking, damn, like I can't have coffee with her here. Like, how am I going to set this up? I need an agent going forward. And then I left and I was like, well, you know what? I showed up. That means something. There's a guy sitting outside. His name's Mike. I'm like, what's up, man? How are you doing? We started talking and we're just laughing for no reason for like 2, 3 hours, man. And I said, Mike, man, I got your info. We'll stay in touch. Then he goes, you know who I am, right? I said, no. He goes, I'm Sylvia's husband. I said, who? Sylvia Hudson. And I was like, oh my God. So I had no clue. And the next week she was submitting me for jobs like I was her own son. And I'm pretty sure she didn't remember shaking my hand inside that warehouse and being moved. So Mike went to bat for me. Not even 2 years later, I'm in LA and I get an audition for Homeland. And I film it here with a couple friends. I don't think I did more than a couple takes, and I'm like, that's it. They're like, that's it. I'm like, you know what? I was as honest as I can be. I'm good. They can hear me. They can see me. Like I gave it the truth that that I believe the story needs. And then I got booked for it. Went to Charlotte. Got to film for 5 days, and then I hired a company in LA as an actor because I realized the films I did before LA, the sound and the picture quality were night and day different. I was so proud of so much work that I did, like every actor should be. But LA and New York has network caliber picture and sound quality, and you can't settle. So I hired a professional company to make some clips for me that look like I'm on these TV shows out here because I have to maintain the branding, right? I'm in LA now. So one agent saw these new clips, and in one clip I played a crazy neighbor who's out of his mind, and she gave me a direct offer for Arrested Development, so I didn't have to audition, and that was a real treat, you know. So to kind of long-winded answer to both of those, that's how the auditions came, and I got to be a part of those shows.
Yeah, that's a good way to do that, to create something yourself and then
Yeah.
use it
Oh
to
my
get
God,
new
it's so
roles.
important. Just kind of like hiring the right people and being like, you know what, how can I take my branding to the next level? Because a lot of actors naturally were like, next job, next job, next job, but it should be like, how can I put more of myself in a light that resembles studio quality? Nothing but the best.
Yeah, well, let's talk about technology and how it plays a role in your career, in your creative career, in your acting career. What are your thoughts on AI in the film industry? Have you tried any of the apps? Have you used any of the developments for to make your life easier when you pursue new acting roles?
You know, Constantine, to be honest, man, I have not. A big part of the strike last year was, AI was definitely an element where, a lot of these studios and groups, they want an actor to carry out a role and then use AI to replicate our likeness into so many other roles in studio in films and TV shows where we don't get paid for all the other ones. And that's just a small example. And so thankfully for the strike, the whole union came together and now, there's still a lot of work that has to be done. But I'll tell you personally, I'm not a fan of AI because I feel like we're already losing ourselves with our technology. Now, there's a lot of advantages, obviously, but I feel like if you look at the number of people who are watching videos daily and who are on our devices, even myself, like I have to catch myself. I just sent this message, but I don't need to go check on it. I can check on it in 6 hours and the world won't come to an end, you know? But if you go to restaurants, if you go out, you have entire families who are having like these precious moments in family time. Everybody's on their phone. And we grew up where you come home and you can't wait to throw your bag at home to go out to be with your friends, to have parties with your family and to be with people. Being together is, I feel, is how we're wired. And we're already giving so much of ourselves to technology. I feel like with AI, it's going to take us even deeper into that realm and take us away from the human feeling and connection that we need. That's my opinion. And no matter how beautifully, visually stunning AI, um, is going to bring, it's going to take stories too. It's going to be equivalent to a lot of the Marvel action hero films. They're visually stunning, sure, but I watched movies when I was a kid where they pull on these heartstrings. They give you this human feeling where you belong and you're just a little 6 year old. And I'm still thinking about those characters. No matter how intelligent and how on point AI is, you cannot replicate a human experience. That's something someone has lived through and someone is sharing from their core and their heart and from a place of ancestral generation. You cannot replicate it no matter how intelligent and how brilliant technology is. You cannot replicate the human experience when someone is living it and pouring it out of themselves. You just can't change it. So I'm not a believer, but I respect everybody who's jumping on the train because guess what? We have to survive. We have to make money. We have to do what's hot, what's trendy, what is in the now. And I think it's going to do a lot of great things, but I just personally, it's only personally, I don't want to support something 100% that is going to take us a little more away from each other, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I mean, there's many ways to look at AI and different aspects of it. The acting, I definitely agree that it's not right. I mean, it's not human if you're trying to replicate someone with AI visually. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but some people use the tools to help them, find auditions, find, even make those temp reels to send to the casting agent. Yeah, as a stepping stone, not as the final product. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. It's to your point, it's like how are we going to use what we have as an advantage?
If the studio's using them to make more money, how we can use it to fight against that and to build our own path. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You've been on many sets. Have you? How is the situation there? Are a lot of people on their phone, or the people actually working there?
So you know what? I think on sets, people are so concerned about who's going to be on set, how they're going to be seen, and whatnot. So I think it's a lot better. But people are still on their phones. But obviously, when it's time to film, then that's not even a question.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've noticed, like some of my best friends and even family, we will be watching a movie together. And with me, I've been a movie buff since I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And when I watch a movie, I want to be in that movie with the person I'm watching with. And if they're not into the movie, that's okay. We can turn it off or change it or go out and do something. But I've noticed that when I'm watching and I'm in it and I would like them to enjoy some of it, they're on their phones, some of them the entire time. And I'm just thinking like, I want them to enjoy it, but I also don't want to take their enjoyment of them being on their phones away from them. So me and some friends, they were telling me about the new Jack Reacher series. I remember I was in Houston visiting family and friends. Season 2 just dropped, and my buddy from college and his brother and his wife were like, season 2 just dropped, but we got to watch it. And I'm like, I haven't seen the first one because some things didn't feel natural to me. But man, y'all are so excited. I'd love to experience it with y'all. They're like, really? I'm like, oh my God, let's do a binge. So we all got in the living room after they put the babies to bed. And I'm like, this is going to be a movie night like back in college days. I'm so pumped, right? So we all get there. We got popcorn, we got drinks, we're chilling. We got season, 2, episode 1. And, like I have an idea of what it's about. And then we jump into it. The second it turns on, everybody immediately gets on their phone. And they were on it the whole time. And then I was like, I'm watching this by myself, But I'm old school, man. I also want to honor every writer, creator, director, actor out there who put their heart and soul into what we're watching, and I want us to experience a few minutes. Give it a shot. If you don't like it, let's do something else. But to be able to be reading, and watching a movie at the same time, and to believe that you're doing both, I feel like you're cheating yourself in one way. It's like I want to give my all to something, or at least get something out of it. So that's just how I am. But hey, man, it's a world we live in, and you have to also respect what makes other people move and go, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And there's no way you can control it. You cannot just say, no, we putting the phone in the box and you're not taking it out until we finished. You're gonna, yeah, you're gonna ruin so many relationships like that.
Yep. That's true. That's so true, man.
Yeah, I always try to watch it without looking in the phone. But sometimes, you know what I do? I see an actor or I see someone and it's like, or even hear a song. It's, oh, what is it? And I want to like check it out, like what it is, who it is, and
Absolutely.
where they've been before. It's like, oh, this guy looks familiar. Let me check. Was he in that movie? And sometimes on some streaming platforms, you can actually do it on like within TV. You can click pause and it shows like actors' faces at the bottom. I think Amazon Prime does that. So
That's amazing, man. So yeah, to your point, there's so many advantages, and we have access to any information we want. And I mean, what a privilege, man, at the same time, for sure.
yeah, and there's one example that I have. I had a guest before. His name is Michael Franklin. He was playing some roles on Euphoria and some other shows. And recently I was watching this new show, Lady in the Lake. It's on Apple TV Plus. And as I'm watching it, if I was on the phone, I would probably miss it. But I was watching it and I see, oh, wait, this guy, this bartender, that's him. I'm so excited.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I just take screenshot and I send him. I tag him. I was like, "Hey, man, I just saw you on Apple, like this recent episode that just came out this Wednesday or Friday, whatever." This part of it I kind of like when you can connect, especially with people who you know. And say,
absolutely.
Hey,
Oh, for sure, man.
yeah. Are there any funny stories that come to mind from sets, from film sets, or from even preparing for the movie that you can share?
There's some embarrassing moments for sure.
Oh, I want that.
Yeah, it's and like I'm a big goofball, man. Like I have sometimes no filter. I don't know what is appropriate and what's not, and also I'm not like being an actor for a few years. I don't know the terminology of like for example equipment. Like certain boxes and certain cameras, and there's a lot of lingo I don't know. And apparently, I was working on a set. It was a pilot, and then I finished my scenes that day. So I just wanted to be helpful, and I just wanted to be like, "What can I do? What can I do?" So there was a producer, and she asked me for an Apple box, and like an Apple box in production is a specific piece of equipment, right? And I heard Apple box. I said, "Oh, I got you. She's thirsty." I go to the kitchen. I bring her a couple of these apple juice boxes. And I said, "Oh, here you go. What can I do next?" She busted out laughing. And everyone looks at it and looks at me, and they realize what happened. It was so embarrassing. And I'm like, "That's all right." You got to also know how to laugh at yourself, right? So, but yeah, man, it's like you get so focused on your character and what you're doing, and you don't listen to other lingo, even in meetings. I'm sure Apple boxes and all kinds of stuff has been mentioned so many times, but it just goes right over,
Yeah. So from all of the things that you've done, what project that is really close to your heart that you really enjoyed that you did it and proud of it in a sense?
Greece for sure, because every day we gave so much to the story and we lifted audiences. It was life changing. Easy Money was an independent film, counterfeit thriller that was made. That's definitely something I'm very proud of because my character was written into the story. I was never supposed to be a part of it, and I become a main character. I'm really proud of that, and it's actually it's very encouraging for actors and just people in general. I got a text from a buddy one afternoon, and he said, "Can you be in Santa Monica in an hour? Bring a black suit. I'll explain." So I'm thinking, like, damn, like someone dropped out of a movie, like get ready to learn the script fast. So I'm like, you know what? He's a good friend. He's also done like some really good television. So I know it's going to be something, worthwhile. And more than that, he's a friend. So I'm going to go drive out of Santa Monica. We're in this underground parking garage, whole production down there. And the director comes up. He's like, thank you so much for coming. We're making a counterfeit thriller film. It's a feature, full length movie. We're just doing a montage to promote the film. We just need you, basically, the back and the profile of you to portray a powerful businessman. There's going to be no audio, no dialogue, but the lead is going to come to you, give you a counterfeit bill. You're going to examine it, look at your bodyguard, give it back to him, moving on. And I'm thinking like, cool, easy peasy. After that, I go to Santa Monica downtown and have drinks with some buddies, right? So life is good. So the director told me two things. He goes, you're a very powerful business tycoon, and you don't trust this prick. He screwed you over in the past. Action. He comes up, looks at me, gives me the bill. Take a look at it. Look at the bodyguard. Give it back to him. He puts his hand up, and he goes, "That's okay. You keep it." Konstantin, something inside me flipped. I don't know what, but I forgot about the director and everything. But I had to be honest because of the two things he told me. And without saying or doing anything, I made it very, very clear that, kid, you're not going to call the shots in my house. And we had such a good chemistry. A week later, my buddy who called me initially said, hey, man, you know, he said, you're a bad mofo. He was like, you had such a good chemistry with this character. They're rewriting the screenplay and incorporating your character as a main character. And then over the course of time, they created these beautiful layers for my character in downtown warehouses and whatnot. So, anyways, Easy Money was a movie that was made by a group where they had no money, and it was such a dream because I learned through that project what it takes, the responsibility to carry a leading a major role, the responsibility that everyone is dependent on. You know, one day I had two auditions I had to run out for and come back. Everybody was waiting for me. That's one example, and you appreciate it. You're like, you know what? We can't do this without any one of us. But I got a different level of appreciation for what it takes to make a movie, shoot one scene, and get it done. So Grease, Easy Money, and I just shot a dark comedy last year called Halloween Feast, and I'm proud of it because everybody worked on it like they were a family, like that story was our baby. And I was like, this right here is a dream. This is what I want for everyone. So yeah, I think those three, man, have been the most fulfilling so far.
Yeah, that's a great story. That's something you can make a movie about in and of itself. How you get that role.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, Constantine, when that happened, I told myself, God, let me do this same thing for so many other people. You know, put me in Hong Kong, Africa, South America, anywhere in the world. Let me be on set. Let a director come to me saying, hey, this person dropped out. We need someone now. I have top 10 friends of mine. I want to say, hey, I need you for 3 weeks. Get on a plane in an hour. You know, like I want to change people's lives the way this person thought of mine, you know?
Yeah. Pay it forward.
Yeah, absolutely, man. 100%.
So let's pause for a second and talk about spirituality. Talk about spirituality, mental health, perhaps. You mentioned your trip to Africa. You mentioned how tough it is, how tough it can be in Hollywood, and tough being an actor just in general. So what are some of the ways that you help yourself to kind of like move on and to process everything the right way to not get stuck?
So, when I was working on a show a few years ago, I remember it was the biggest show on ABC. And I thought in my mind, like, oh my God, I got to get the next big show. And then I start to watch myself from a bird's eye being like, you can't do this. You can't keep running and chasing and following. And I remembered my mom and dad told me when I was very young, there's only one of you in this world. So I had to kind of make a conscious decision to stop chasing and stop running and just trust. If I put good quality work out there and keep good people around me, and of course, like getting up in the morning before I get to my phone or get out of bed, whatever is on my heart and my mind, that like that I'm most grateful for, I say it out loud and I say thank you. This way, my day starts off with my well being is number one. Then I'll let the world catch up. Because if I can't take care of myself genuinely and thoroughly, I can't take care of anyone. So I've learned over the years to stop running, chasing, and following, to put my well being as number one, and just realize number three, like, as long as I'm putting good quality work out there, I don't have to run and chase whatever's hot, whatever's trendy. Just know that the work will speak for itself, and be your genuine self. And we've been attracting some of the best, and that's why all these amazing things are happening. It's because of the energy we're putting out there and who we are that we're putting out there and attracting like minds. So yeah, I've to answer your question, I've simplified big time, you know,
Hmm.
where I don't need what's definitive of successful. I need what is going to speak volumes in my own heart when I go home every day. That tells me, man, today was a good day. We gave a lot to the story. Like, and knowing that I'm happy inside my own heart for myself, that's enough, you know?
Yeah, simplify. Yeah, I think everyone
Simplifying
should
that.
put it in their kitchen or something, like a sign. Simplify.
Oh man, simplifying has changed my life, man. The more I simplify any aspect of my life, I'll tell you, man, like I get more clarity. I mean, there was a time a few years ago, I went to the Bel Air Hotel for dinner with a buddy of mine. He's got some very wealthy friends, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching other people, on the tables, and I realized it was difficult to find even one or two people smiling,
Hmm.
and hearing our conversation and just looking around, I realized in that building, I'm probably the only person who didn't have a car at that time, but I'm probably one of the happiest people in this building, you know? And you just appreciate, man, just the simple things, like what actually matters. Like, so yeah, learning every day, man, how to simplify a little more.
And not having your car in LA probably will make you happier if you don't have to use it. If you don't have to
Yeah,
go
yeah,
anywhere and sit in traffic
yeah,
and be cut off by some reckless drivers and stuff.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. It's like, when the pandemic happened, I had a car, for example, I had a car after 3 years, you lease it, you return it, and the pandemic happened. I'm like, I don't have anywhere to go. So I didn't have a car for a good 2 years. And I thought about the amount of money I was saving. And I was like, I can put this money, into my company, and I can do other things for other people. Let me see how long I can save. And just recently, I was blessed, with the vehicle. But the thing is, at that time I didn't have it. I learned so much about what do we actually need, especially when so many things are walking distance.
Mm,
But like I myself included, like we get spoiled sometimes.
yeah. But that phrase that you just said is so funny. And it only makes sense in LA, I think. I was blessed with a vehicle.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh my God. Oh my God. I believe in miracles personally. I have a family friend I grew up with who was in town. He graduated from USC years ago. We had breakfast. He said, "Hey, you should come meet my college roommate and his wife." So I went to meet them in Montrose, and we're having drinks at this beautiful part, this hidden gem of LA. My buddy, who I grew up with, and his wife had to go back to Houston. So it's been this couple I just met. We're just sharing life. And I'm like, yeah, I live in Studio City. I love where I live. I can walk everywhere and whatnot. I don't even need a car. I'm working on these projects, and they're telling me about their music and all the amazing things they're doing. And they're like, by the way, we have an extra car. Just take it. And I said, thank you so much. I love you for the thought, but no, thank you. That's your car. That's your vehicle. And but thank you. We went back and forth to me being in the driveway, pulling out of their driveway with their vehicle. And they said, and I said, Rob, I don't necessarily need this car, but it's happening for a reason. He looked at me dead in my eye and goes, it's meant to be, man. After that, Konstantin, I've been able to help so many people with this vehicle. So yeah, man, there are angels out there, brother. That's for sure. Who's gonna just meet you and say, hey, here's a car, go take it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Feature films versus TV shows. Which one do you think is better as a job? And what do you think is the future of both as an actor and also as a consumer?
I enjoy feature films a lot more, because I can give a lot more layers and depth to the characters and to the story. Like the wherever you want to take it, it's never ending.
Hmm.
In TV, you're limited. There's some sure great stories and whatnot, but when you have a certain style of television, like Netflix and Amazon, they use algorithms. So if you're watching a horror film or a comedy, why do you feel somewhat similar at the end of it? Because they're using the same algorithm. And 9 times out of 10, the next day, you're not going to remember the characters or the story. You're entertained, sure, but it's not going to stay with you. That's the difference between television and film for me. You
Hmm.
watch a movie, it's done right. You have the layers and the depth, and it makes you feel something you lived through. You're never going to forget that, you know, or it's going to stay with you at least a couple of years, whatever. But that's the difference. And I think, sure, we're going closer towards certain genres of television that's becoming shorter and shorter form. But I think there's still a good chunk of the world that wants to be moved and that appreciates going to the movie theater and wants to have an experience where they come out and they're like, "Holy Mother of God, what just happened?"
Hmm.
So I think there's still some people out there who appreciate a good movie, a good story that shakes you up a little bit. But I think television is where the consistent money is. So a lot of the world is going there, but I think the storytelling is where movies, film, features are.
Yeah. How often do you go to a movie theater? Like, let's say per month or per year?
You know what? I just went to the theater last week and it was amazing. I went with a
Hmm.
buddy of mine visiting from back home and I felt like I was in college again. Lately, I've gone maybe once a month,
Hmm.
or maybe once every 2 months. But before that, I couldn't tell you, man, maybe a couple times a year, if,
Hmm.
because I have a lot of classic movies that I love to watch at home.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll rewatch them and just be jumping up and down. But
So, what are your criterias for choosing a movie to watch in a theater? Because you have only one movie to watch per month. How do you choose which one you're gonna watch? I mean, of course, there's different
you know what? I
seasons.
have to
Sometimes there
list.
is like good movie season, sometimes bad, but kind of like in
Yeah,
general, no.
it depends who I'm with. If I'm by myself, like I think about how the story makes me feel. Do I love an actor, actress, or the story to something? I'll think about how it's making me feel. If it makes me feel something, I'll be in that theater right away. If I'm with somebody, I think about, are they excited about it? And if they are, let's just go watch a movie together, and I will have
Hmm.
less expectations. You know?
Hmm. Do you watch? Does rating affect you or reviews before the movie? Do you read them?
No, I don't like to look at ratings or reviews because there's a lot of movies the world loves and flocks to that they don't move me. And there's some movies that people may not get, but that could change my life.
Hmm.
So if I look at ratings and reviews, I'm kind of cheating myself from a potential amazing experience, you know?
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm totally agree with that because I hate reading that, and I hate when someone tells me, "Oh, do you know that that movie was say, like 4 on IMDb or something like that?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's constant rating and it also adds to the hierarchical system,
Mm.
where there's a hierarchy in every industry in every society, to some extent, and it makes me it's how life is, but if we give too much into a hierarchy, we're missing out on some really good people or some really good opportunities and
Mhm.
experiences because of the number or the class or what somebody does or whatever
Yeah.
it might be. So when you talk about the rating, I'm like, the number means nothing to me, you know?
Hmm.
Like let me go experience it and see how it makes me feel. Then I can be like, oh, this was cool. But using numbers, I think it goes back to the whole hierarchy, which I just never believed
Hmm.
in.
Yeah. People just want to measure things, measure success or
Hmm.
failures. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, let me challenge your creativity
Hmm.
for a little bit, if you don't mind. This is the question I
Please.
ask my guests, and here it goes. If you were an extraterrestrial from a perfect world
Hmm.
where everything is in balance and in harmony, and now you come to our world with all of its issues, what would be the one thing that you'd fix?
I would find a way to require in-person physical community. Because I really believe if we were forced somehow whether it's world leaders or people in a small community, to spend more time together, we would be happier. I really, really do. I feel like growing up having two or three, four get-togethers a week, it was just a happier time. I even asked my aunts and uncles who were surviving that time, were things better back then overall? And they're like, yeah, they actually were. So if I could change one thing, I would have that extraterrestrial create something in a very respectful way where, um, like, for example, if we went to restaurants or certain events or venues, maybe there would be no network connectivity where you'd be forced to talk to each other and just kind of say, hey, how's your day going? What's new? Because when you hang out with friends or you meet new people, you learn how to laugh at yourself, laugh with each other, and even when you're clowning each other, you're releasing stress and tension, you know? And now we're not releasing anything. We're getting some, instant gratification, some satisfaction, but we're not releasing much, and a lot of things are being bottled up. So if I could pick one thing that I would change, is I would have this living entity come through and find something with their own intelligence, where they could bring more people together, and also, having said that, make decisions not based on what's going to make us money or make us thrive more, but what is going to actually benefit our future generations, you
Yeah.
know? Because
Hmm.
now we're thinking about, like, hey, I made 1 million. How am I going to make 100 million? How am I going to, conquer even more? No one's thinking about, how there's so many people without running water, without a roof, without a plate to eat. There's so many things that need to be addressed. And I feel like if we brought each other more, I think we would be more adept to making choices that will actually benefit the generations that haven't been born yet. So
Hmm.
that's what I would do, if that even answers your question.
Perfect. Community is
Yeah,
important for
man.
sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
The real life community. Well, Raja, is there anything else that you'd like to add? Anything that I missed? Could be anything. Anything to promote?
You know what? I want to promote, like, every person out there who has reminded me that keep hope going, stay strong. I believe in you. Like, I want to honor every single one of them, and I want to pay it forward. Um, you know, um, I want to mention Sabrina Percario is one of my best friends in the world, and she's also my company partner. And we are making our first movie, and we just welcomed on board our director 2 days ago. And it's definitely a huge milestone in the career, and I'm really proud of it because the movie is called Happy, and it's inspired by my life events. My father's final conversation is actually in the screenplay.
Hmm.
Um, and we're making a movie. It's never been more real, especially with everything and everyone we've secured. So I'm really proud of Happy, being in pre-production, and yeah, just honoring, and giving a shout out to every person along the journey who has said, keep going, I believe in you, I love you. And I want to pass that forward to every child, to every person out there who has some doubt in their own mind. I want to say, like, I want to tell you what my parents told me, which is there's only one of you in this world. I believe in you more than you can ever imagine. And yeah, that's a shout out I want to give, man.
I can't wait to see this movie now. Let me know when
Oh,
it's
thanks,
done.
man. Yeah, yeah, we will. We absolutely will. No question about it, man.
Awesome. And now we arrived at the final question of the episode, the obsession of the week. It's time to be a goofball, as you say.
Mm,
Anything. It could be a book, a movie, I don't know, a brand of toilet paper. For example, for me this week is the Comic Con in San Diego, even though I cannot be there in person, but I have
uh-huh.
someone to be there for me, searching for like one item that I'm interested in. And that's what I've been obsessed with this week, on this weekend. Is there
Yeah.
something that you have, something to share?
You know what? Yeah, I have been obsessed with. So I've gotten a couple invitations. One is for a charity in Texas at the end of September, and one is for a movie premiere in Mexico City at the end of next month. I've been obsessed these last couple of days, searching for ticket deals, trying to see. what other cities can I explore and find on the way to these places? So
Mm.
I have been searching for deals and who can I see? What new cities or countries can I visit for the first time? So yeah, I've been obsessed, man. Like the last probably 2 weeks, I'm kind of like, we have two premiere dates in Mexico City. I'm waiting for like the one that we're all going to, so then I can be like, to Mexico City, I'm going to go to Guadalajara and Houston and McAllen and the Valley, and where else can I go? So I've been obsessed, man, for the trip in August and the trip in September. But I've been like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Like a little kid who's about to go to their birthday, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
that's
man.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Traveling is always fun and
It's so
preparations.
much fun. It's so
Yeah.
much fun. My cousin just came from India for the first time, and he literally saved my life the year I came to LA. And I'll tell you, like, he came out here. I took him all over the country, and we traveled for a full month. And you would think anybody would get tired of going to airports. I wish we were still going to three more cities, you know? Like, I love flying so much because you have the unknown. You never know who you're going to meet. So I'm with you, man. I get so excited when it comes to travel and just putting ourselves out there a little more and also learning from others, man, you know?
Yeah. Raja, it was a pleasure.
Oh,
Thank you for
man.
coming.
Konstantin, thank you so much, man. And thank you for your humility, man, and your, you being a visionary and for being patient. You know, like last time we tried to do all these testing and whatnot, it was like, this is going to work, that's going to work. And some things are worth waiting for, man. And thank you for that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation. There's a lot of cool stuff we uncovered today. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
same, man. Thanks to you, man. Thank you so much.